Fine. Can you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So in this particular semester, I've been assigned with a course, blockchain technology. So before going in detail about this blockchain technology, I just wanted to know what is your understanding about this blockchain concept. Aditya, can you just tell me what's your
Sir,
understanding about blockchain?
blockchain is the technology through which we
Okay,
can exchange the money amount means for that without the use of third party.
yeah, that's good.
And there and uh, in blockchain technology, the
Hmm.
first use case is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. So in fact, there are two cryptocurrencies. So one is your Bitcoin and another one is your Ethereum. So they are the two cryptocurrencies that are being widely used in the market. And these two cryptocurrencies, these people, they are making use of this blockchain technology. As Aditya mentioned that there is no third party involvement in the communications. Straight away, if I want to transfer an amount from my account to Aditya, straight away without the involvement of the third party, I can transfer the amount to Aditya Raj. So this is what the technology, so what we people are discussing. So any other idea about this blockchain technology, Akanksha? Unmute and speak. Akanksha Kumari.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What's your understanding about this blockchain technology other than what Aditya Raj mentioned?
Mm, sir, I don't have any base.
Pardon? Harini? Unmute yourself, Harini.
Sir, I'm new to this subject, sir.
You
As
are new
Aditya
to
said,
this
I knew
subject, you don't have any idea about this, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sahana?
So, as much as I know that blockchain basically helps you store data in the form of small blocks, like which form a chain of information, and it's like a global repository where there are lots of records of it. So
Exactly.
you can basically check any one block for the info, and it is usually encrypted with cryptography. So it also makes it extra safe. That's why it is used to exchange. Bitcoins because it's the most safest way of transaction.
Exactly correct. So what she said is exactly correct. So here in this case, so whatever the data that we generate, that's in the form of a blocks actually, and all these blocks are interconnected, something like your linked list concept. I think you people are familiar with what's a linked list is, a chain like link. So in that manner, you can able to make a connection between these blocks and whatever the data that you are storing, so everything will going to be the encrypted manner, right? So that's why I mentioned Bitcoin and Ethereum. So they are the concept which have adopted this blockchain technology and they are called as cryptocurrencies. So crypto in the sense, so it has been encrypted so that no third party people can able to get that message or they can hack that particular information or they can able to hack that currency. So in that way that currency is this Bitcoin and Ethereum has been emerged in the common days. Okay. So let me go straight away with your concept. So a lot of top financial institutions so in the world, so these people are making use of this blockchain technology. Why? Because it reduces the transaction cost. So normally when we do any banking transaction, if I want to transfer an amount from my account to someone's account, so normally the bank will going to charge a transaction fees. Why? Because they act as a intermediary person So they will in turn charge some nominal fees. So in the blockchain technology, even you can reduce the transaction fees. So for example, if I want to transfer 1 lakh of amount from my account to someone else's account. So if the transaction amount, let us assume that it is some 2%. So in this blockchain technology, so this transaction fees will going to reduce further. So that is where lots of top financial institutions, they are looking for this blockchain technology. And the second thing, speed up the transaction time. So here in this case, as there is no involvement of the third party, so direct communication can happen between the two parties. If I'm transferring the amount to Sarana, straight away I can transfer the amount to her. So in an encrypted manner, so without any third party involvement. So the fourth point you can see there, eliminate the middleman or the intermediary services. There is no involvement of the third party person here. Straight away I can transfer amount from my account to Sana or whoever I want, right? And also the transaction cost is minimal and the transaction time will going to be reduced and the risk of fraud is also been reduced. So that's why almost all top financial institutions, so they are looking for this blockchain technology. Obviously, there are certain limitations with this. So in the very first session, I don't want to discuss about the limitation of your blockchain technology. In the coming session, so let me have a look into it. Okay. So in this first chapter, so we're going to know about what blockchain is and how it has been evolved and its importance in today's world. Some applications and all those things we'll be discussing here. And also we'll have a detailed discussion about your blockchain. So detail in the sense to a certain extent. So in the very first chapter, we're going to know what exactly this blockchain technology concept is. So in a simple way, if I want to say that blockchain is a technology, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they are the cryptocurrencies, they are making use of this blockchain technology. Okay. So let us know about the backstory of your blockchain. So in 1970s, I think, so that was the time where some digital communication has started actually. So if you want to transfer or if you want to transfer some data from one system to the other system or if you want to communicate between any two parties, so earlier there was no such supporting protocol. So in fact, in your computer networks, you people might have talked about this OSI reference model and TCP/IP reference model. In fact, the OSI reference model came into existence first, but before it gets launched or before it gets into the market, so TCP/IP protocol take over this OSI reference model, and this become so popular that so any two parties can easily make a communication. In a simple way, if I want to say that, if two parties, if they want to achieve the communication, this communication could have been possible through the TCP/IP protocol. So communication in the sense is nothing but between the two systems or two devices or between the two computers. So in the 1970s, this TCP/IP protocol came into existence, and later on it takes a leading role even till today. So we people are dependent on this TCP/IP protocol for achieving a communication between the two parties. And later on, gradually, if you go to the earliest of 1990s, World Wide Web has came into the existence, and through that World Wide Web, so we could easily accessible to the, that is, it was easily access to the public, so where we can able to fetch the information. Suppose if there is any repository in the remote server, through this World Wide Web, I can easily able to fetch the information. That is, World Wide Web applications came into the existence, and it has been widely accessible to the public in the early 1990s. And even it was supposed to be more open and peer-to-peer communication. So like that, so gradually the technology was taking a lead actually. And right now, so a lot of social media applications. So in the market, these people are using Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. So a lot of interactive things can easily happen. So why? Because we want to process your information at a faster rate. That is, I need to get the data at a faster rate from the remote machine. So those things can be easily achieved through your Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. And here in this case, as you already mentioned that one of you people have mentioned that Bitcoin and Ethereum, etc., etc. Obviously, I need to talk about your banking application. Even today, so we people are doing a lot of online transaction. So with the support of your banking systems. And how it has been evolved. If I consider your banking application system, so in the older days, so normally it was a barter system. So barter system in the sense a traditional way of transferring the money. If I want to hand over the money, if I want to transfer the money to someone else, let us assume that to Aditya, if I want to hand over some amount, so by hand I'll give him the money, right? So those mechanisms was a traditional mechanism. So those systems normally we call it as a barter systems. So right now, so we are in a digital mode. So through your fiat currencies, we are making a online transactions. So, but with the support of a third party, there is a middleman here. So who is the middleman? Aditya. In your banking application, who is the middleman?
Sir, Reserve Bank of India.
Yeah, Reserve Bank. So banks, so they are acting as a man in the middle. So with the support of them, so we can able to transfer the amount from my account to your account. So this is how the things that is happening over here. So what this Reserve Bank of India or any banking system is providing? So they are providing us the trust. They are trusting the bank. And in turn, they are providing the security. If I am transferring a lakh amount from my bank account to Aditya Raj, okay, so what bank should has to do? It has to transfer the same amount of money. So 1 lakh it has to be transferred to Aditya Raj. Okay, so it should not enhance my amount or it should not reduce my amount. So exactly how much amount I transfer, the same amount of money should has to be transferred to Aditya Raj's account. Okay, so I mean to say that the bank as a middleman, it is providing us the trust and it is providing us the security for a smooth transaction between the communicating parties. So in that way, the man in the middle application like your bank is providing the support to all of us. So here in this case, instead of bank, let us assume that if the technology is supporting this, instead of a bank application or instead of a bank or your Reserve Bank of India, instead of that, if your technology is supporting, that means it has to provide trust, it has to provide the security, then how best it will going to be? The cost that we invest for the bank or the Reserve Bank of the India or the man in the middle, all those costs will going to be reduced if the technology supports us to transfer an amount. Correct? So if technology enables this trust and security without any intermediary or centralized system. So just now in your banking system, we are talking about RBI. So we are talking about banking system, or we are talking about some escrow services or some clearing houses or some registrars or some third parties. So we don't want to waste the money in the intermediary services. All those money we can able to save through some technology if that technology could be able to provide the trust as well as the security. And obviously your blockchain technology is providing that. So whatever we were missing and all those things are being provided by this blockchain technology. It is facilitating a trustless system in a cryptographically secure way. So it is providing us the trust, and in a cryptographically secured way, it can able to make our transaction straight away without any third party involvement. Straight away I can transfer the money from my account to Aditya Raj or someone else. Getting my point? And how this has been happened, how exactly it can happen. So definitely we'll look into those aspects in the coming session. And who is the man behind this blockchain technology? So there was one pseudo-anonymous name who invented this cryptocurrency called Bitcoin. So it's nothing but Satoshi Nakamoto. So in fact, he come up with a cryptocurrency called Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin was making use of this blockchain technology. So again, I'll say Bitcoin and Ethereum, they are the two cryptocurrencies, and these two cryptocurrencies are making use of this technology called as blockchain. Any doubt in this slide? If you have any doubts, feel free to ask me. Akanksha? Akanksha Kumari?
Yes, sir, no doubt.
No doubt. Harini?
No, sir.
It's okay?
Okay.
Okay. Aditya?
No, sir.
Sahana?
No, sir. Clear.
Okay, fine. So if you have any doubts, so definitely at any moment of time, so you can interrupt me, okay? Okay. So next, what is a blockchain? So to understand your blockchain, so obviously we have to understand it from two perspectives. So one is through your business perspective, and another one is through your technical perspective. So business perspective in the sense, in what way this blockchain technology can be used. Definitely it's all the use cases. How this blockchain technology can be used in business. So don't be in assumption that only Bitcoin and Ethereum, they are the only two cryptocurrencies they are making use of this blockchain technology. There are a lot of other applications also. So even I can consider the application of a student's information stored in a university database, right? So even your data can be stored in the form of a blocks in your university, and it is secured. So even it has been provided with a trusted communication, right? So like that, lot of other applications also can make use of this blockchain technology. So definitely in the business perspective, we need to think about it, your blockchain, and also how this blockchain can able to implement. So that is with respect to the technical perspective. So as engineers, obviously we need to talk in terms of your technical perspective. Before going into the technical perspective, definitely one should know the application of it. So the business perspective of that. So initially we will be talking with respect to the business perspective. So we have the standard definition of your blockchain here. Blockchain is a system of records, as one of you have mentioned that it's a set of blocks, right? So it's a system of records to transact value. Transact value in the sense is just need not be the money. That's your Bitcoin or your Ethereum. So it can be some information. So that information normally we call it as a value. That's it. It need not be a money, exactly the money. It can be anything, the information, some data. So a system, blockchain is a system of records to transact value in a peer-to-peer fashion. What do you mean by this word, the peer-to-peer? Anybody in this session?
So like a one-to-one manner.
Exactly, peer-to-peer in the sense one-to-one. If I'm directly interacting with Akanksha, it's one-to-one. If I'm directly interacting with Aditya Raj, it's one-to-one. So without the support of the middleman. or the intermediate service. Without that, if I'm doing any interaction, so that interaction normally we can call it as a peer-to-peer here. Okay. What it means is that there is no need for a trusted intermediate services such as banks, brokers, other escrow services to serve as a trusted third party. So here in this case, I just wanted to have a transaction in a peer-to-peer fashion without the involvement of the third party services. So that we call it as a blockchain. Let us go with some simple example. So here I have taken one simple example of your textbook. If Alice pays to Bob $10, why would it go through a bank? Suppose if Alice is paying a Bob the $10, why would it go through a bank? So we have the scenario here. So it's a transaction through an intermediary versus peer-to-peer transaction. So the top figure says about your intermediary transaction, and the bottom figure talks about your peer-to-peer transaction. So that is peer-to-peer transaction in this is nothing but your blockchain. So she is Alice and she is Bob. Okay, Alice pays $10. So where this amount goes? So it goes to the intermediary service, that is to the bank. This is the bank here. So in the bank, we'll check for all the details whether Alice is having the sufficient amount in her bank balance or not, right? All those verification, validation, everything we're going to do it in this third party service, and later on I'll transfer the amount to Bob. So this is what the normal procedure that will going to happen in an intermediate service, transacting through trusted intermediary service, that is through the bank. So in the case of your peer-to-peer transaction, as I mentioned in your definition of your blockchain, it's a system of records to transact value. It need not be the money, it can be any information, it can be any data in a peer-to-peer fashion. See this, peer-to-peer transaction. Alice straight away transferring the amount to Bob here. Alice pays $10 to Bob, and in turn Bob gets $10. There is no involvement of the third party service. So this we call it as a blockchain. And here in this case, the technology is providing the trust as well as the security. So that we need to think of. Okay. So one more example, it's with respect to the stock market scenario. Let me assume that I have purchased a stock. So this purchase of stocks can happen in a second, but its settlement will going to take a week. So why? Because let us assume that Alice, she purchased a stock from some company A. Obviously, there is a stock exchange office. Through that stock exchange, she is purchasing some shares of a company A. Let me assume that this company, I can call it as a Infosys. Fine. And Alice, she is purchasing the shares of Infosys through some stock exchange. Sharecon, etc. So there are lots of stock exchange companies. Through that stock exchange companies, so Alice purchasing some shares of a company, Infosys. Let us assume the transactions happens within a second, but its settlement. So the shares what she purchased should have to be credited to the account of Alice. Suppose let us assume that she has purchased 10 Infosys shares. All those payments, whether Alice has paid enough amount for that shares, and whether those shares were available in the market, all those things we are supposed to check, and then only these shares will be allotted to Alice. Until then, so this stock, that is Infosys stock, will not be allotted to Alice. But instead of having these intermediate services like the stock exchange or intern communicating with some company XYZ, why can't this Ali straight away communicate with company A, that is Infosys, and get some shares? Normally the employees do. So few of the companies, few of the IT companies, few other companies, what they do is, so they will going to provide certain shares to their employees. It's a direct peer-to-peer communications. But normal share trading will not happen through peer-to-peer transactions. It will going to happen through some exchange. Inter this exchange will communicate to the corresponding company. There will be a number of companies. So here in this scenario, we are talking about only one company, some XYZ Infosys. There will be thousands, millions of companies there. So this exchange will be communicating with all those companies and in turn making the settlement after 2 to 3 days. Again, this is a time process. That is, it kills the time here. So we want to reduce the time. So this can happen only through our blockchain technology. See this, Alice, what she does? She straight away communicated with the company Infosys. I'm taking the example of a company in here. She is in turn communicate directly with the company in fee. If the shares are available, the company will allot the shares to Alice. If not, no. The same way, the rest of the peoples, Charlie, Bob, even they are in turn communicating directly to this company, Infosys, and they are getting the shares in turn if they want. The same way, there is one more company. Let us assume that this company is by name TCS. So even this company can directly get the shares. That is, this Alice, Charlie, and Bob, they can communicate with these guys and they can get the shares. Okay. So this communication normally is nothing but a peer-to-peer communication. Suppose if this scenario supports with the blockchain technology, even your stock trading can be incorporated with a blockchain also. Okay, directly any person can directly interact with the company corresponding share company and they can get the shares. So little understanding about this blockchain. So obviously one should have to know. So in fact, this is the initial understanding. So blockchain is a peer-to-peer system of transacting values with no trust-party third parties in between. So at the start of the definition itself, I mentioned it's a peer-to-peer communication, transacting values. It is not exactly the money. It can be any data or it can be any information without the involvement of the trusted third parties in between. The second thing, it is shared, decentralized, and open ledger of transaction. So here in this case, the information is shared among all people. So here I was talking about Alice, Charlie, and Bob. All these three guys knows what's the shares available of company A, that is Infosys. Even these guys knows the shares available of company B, that is TCS. So I mean to say that, so each of these parties, they know the information. That means the information is shared. And it's not centralized. It's not been available at a center place. It is decentralized. So all these Alice, Charlie, and Bob, they know the complete information. It is decentralized and it's open to everyone. It's open ledger of transaction. This ledger database is replicated across a large number of nodes. It is replicated. The same copy has been replicated among all these three persons. Okay. This ledger database is an append-only database. So it's something like a block. So in the linked list, I think you are familiar with. So there is one block and another block will go to append to this, right? So here in this case, we cannot modify or edit a corresponding block. Once it has been appended to the chain of this blockchain, so you cannot edit this, right? If you want to do the edit operation, you can just add one more block and do any operation corresponding to that particular scenario. That's it. So the ledger database is an append-only database and cannot be changed or altered. It means that every entry is permanent. It's something like a log file. If you have done once, that information is permanent. If you want to make any correction, you just create a one more block and just append it in that particular blockchain. So that means all the information over here is permanent entry. Any new entry on it gets reflected on all copies of the database hosted on different nodes. So this chain of blockchain will be reflected in all the nodes. So it is available with Charlie, it will be available with Bob, it will be available with Alice. So in the next scenario, I have the example. In that particular example, I can discuss much more detail regarding this. Okay. There is no need for trusted third parties to serve as intermediators to verify, secure, and settle the transactions. No involvement of a third party here. So the technology is providing the security, it is settling the transaction, and in turn it is verifying it. It is just another layer on top of the internet. That means this lies above your internet, that is above your application layer, and can coexist with other internet technologies. So you know your TCP/IP protocol structure. So above your application layer, so there will going to be one addition layer. This layer normally we call it as blockchain layer in the concept of blockchain. Just the way TCP/IP was designed to achieve an open system, blockchain was designed to enable true decentralization. So as I already mentioned that it is meant for providing the decentralized operation among the communicating parties. Suppose if that centralized system collapse, for example, if this stock exchange collapse, definitely these people cannot able to make a communication. Bob cannot purchase the shares of Infosys, Bob cannot purchase the shares of TCS, and so on. But in a peer-to-peer system, in this mechanism, so obviously Alice, even this fails, no issue. He or she can purchase the shares of TCS. Only Infosys is done, that's it. Okay, if Charlie is done, no problem. Alice and Bob still they can interact with company A and company B. So this is how the things goes on over here. So the typical blockchain data structure, as I already mentioned that it will going to be in the form of a chain of blocks. The very first block, normally we call it as a genesis block. And obviously this was created by who? Who has created the very first block? Aditya. Unmute yourself.
First block is that person that want to transact the amount. The
So
value.
in fact, this technology was developed by Satoshi Nakamoto. Okay, so he is the first person who has created the first block. And whatever the block we are creating today, they are appending to this end of this chain. That's it. Right, I'll give you one link. So if you go to that particular link, if you see how many blocks have been created, that means you can able to see how many blocks have been created. All those information are available in that particular website. Okay, it's too early to discuss at this moment of time. So anyhow, the very first block normally we call it as a genesis block, and this was created by the Satoshi Nakamoto. And in turn, for every transaction, we were created with a individual blocks. Something like this. It's going in a chain manner, right? And here in this case, this block 2 is holding the link of a previous block. See this. In fact, this block contains 2 headers. One is the previous block. It's something like a link. So your next pointer and previous pointer and so on. This is like a previous pointer. This is pointing to the previous block. So I mean to say that this is holding a hash value. Hash value, this is hash value of this particular block. I don't know whether you are getting it or not. So for this, there are certain hash algorithms in your cryptography. So by using those hash algorithms, this whole block has been encrypted. So we'll come up with the hash value, and this previous block will hold that hash value. And again, for this whole block, I'll pass through your hashing algorithm in turn it will going to generate a hash value, and that hash value will going to be placed here. So again, I'll tell you why these hash values are so much important here. Obviously, it is meant for security. Okay, you just think about it today. So when you come to the next session, I think I can able to discuss why it's so. So I'm running out of the time here. So meeting time, I think it ends by another 1 minute. I'll just stop at this moment of time because this is a free Zoom applications, so I can able to conduct only for 40 minutes, not more than that. So we'll stop at this point of time. So again, I will be able to schedule on Friday. So I think you can able to, in fact, the other faculties won't be able to take your session on Friday. So I'll be engaging your session at 10:30 Friday. Will it be okay?
Yes, sir.
Huh? Friday 10:30.
Yes, sir.
I'll be engaging your session. So just 4 of you have been logged in. So inform your other friends also to log in into this session. Okay. And this video will be available in the YouTube. Okay. Thank you.